What's up guys, this is Rise and welcome to another video where I'm going to be showcasing my battles using Qwilfish with Poison Sting. And this thing guys is so spammy. If you're not aware, Poison Sting has become a Mudshot clone. Mudshot, a move I'm sure most of you are familiar with via Politoed, Galarian Stunfisk. It generates energy extremely quickly, 9 energy per 2 turns or per Mudshot. So you're going to get to Aqua Tails with Qwilfish in 8 turns, the same as it would take a Politoed to get to Weather Ball. And you're also going to get to Sludge Waves extremely quickly for a Sludge Wave, similar to a Stunfisk getting to an Earthquake. But we're able to get a shield in this matchup. We had a pretty bad lead against the Politoed because the Mudshots are going to chip away at us. We correctly shield a Psychic, so it's going to allow us to farm up quite a bit. So I'm almost at 3 Aqua Tails. I'm at 99 energy with the Qwilfish right now. We're going to take out the Medicham with an Aqua Tail. I'm going straight for the Sludge Wave, and my opponent's got to be thinking, there's no way he can basically back-to-back a big move. We land the Sludge Wave against the Poly. This is only a Weather Ball, so I ain't worried about this. Take the Weather Ball, Poison Jab, or Poison Sting down. And there's a Golbat in back, and we have a Galvantula, so we're in good shape right here. Qwilfish landing the Sludge against the Poly because we had that huge farm on the Medicham. And yeah, we're going to be able to just shield and Volt Switch down at that point. Nice win in the first game. I had a lot of fun using Qwilfish, and I plan on using it more. Catch me on stream a few hours from posting this video, and you should see me using it live. So we're in a kind of weird matchup against Beedrill. We're both dealing resisted damage with our poison moves. We're getting poison jabbed. We're dishing out poison stings. We do have to respect the drill run here. We're just hoping he doesn't bait us. And we correctly show the drill run, which is nice. He's able to catch on an electric type. I just saw pure electric, and it ends up being a Raikou. It's a Raikou. Who would have thought? So it takes Raikou 6 Volt Switches to get to 2 Wild Charges, which I'm aware of. So I'm counting his Volt Switches. And I noticed that he only went to 5. So assuming this is a Wild Charge, I should be able to counter him down after that debuff. So I just shield, I counter down, and in comes an Alolan Raticate with Bite. Oh my goodness. I don't know why he didn't come in with Beedrill, to be honest. Because the Beedrill still has a decent chunk of health, and the counters would be double resisted, versus here they're double super effective. So I think our opponent made a mistake there. Perhaps they wanted to tank the energy and then put it all on Beedrill. But at this point, I'm in a good situation because Galvantula should be able to live 1 drill run and still going to be able to get to a move here to take it out. That Raticate, though, is still alive, so we have low health. And the Raticate's got to be close to a move, but I know I'm only 1 counter away from a Body Slam, so I'm able to just throw 1 counter, throw the Slam. The Raticate would have had to throw a move to avoid that from happening, and then at that point the Qwilfish would have been able to close it out. So just finding that late game win condition, making sure you don't lose it. Yeah, I think either way I would have been fine. That's the end of that set. These games are a little bit mismatched, out of order, because I recorded them individually while I was on stream for the battles, a fellow Mazer teammate of mine. Going into our next one, there's the little glitch where it pops up your recent catch. Great matchup for Qwilfish here against Azu. They switch into Sableye, and I don't have an obvious answer for Sableye, so I'm going to chip at it with the Aqua Tail. I'm going to stay in for a little bit, force him to throw some energy, because if I switch into either of my other Pokemon at an energy disadvantage, it's going to be tough to retain Switch. Now I'm going to... I got a shield, which is huge, and I switch into Vigoroth because I want to kind of save my Galv for that Azu, and I figure that because I have 2 good matchups against the Azu, and because I think there's most likely an Alolan Marowak in back, I don't want to allow him to potentially farm down my Galvantula with a Marowak. I'm assuming this is the Azu double Ghost line. That's how I know that there's most likely a Marowak in back. In comes Azu. So just try to time my moves as good as possible. And you see my switch clock is going to come up here. So I'm actually going to go into Qwilfish against the loaded Azu, because I know Qwilfish resists everything the Azu has. So I can tank this play rough. And I was wrong. It's not a Marowak, it's a Tropius. But you see how I threw my Sludge Wave, which gets shielded at his 4th Air Slash. So I purposely CMP tie there. And I'm going to wait out my full switch clock. And all that energy I banked on Vigoroth is going to come in handy here. So I'm going to instantly throw a Body Slam. I'm only 1 away from my next Body Slam. And by that point, I should be able to switch out. I'm aware of the Tropius's energy. It's only at 1 Air Slash. And it looks like he's going to try and build up to an Aerial Ace, which is going to allow me to take this thing out. And because the Azu had just thrown a play rough at the Qwilfish, I'm aware that I should be able to get to a discharge here before the Azu gets to a move. If I knew that the Azu had more energy, I would have committed to a farm down on the Tropius and taken the Aerial Ace. But I knew that the Azu was not going to outpace me to a move there. So a pretty complicated game there for what are we in this rank 8, but a good one nonetheless. Blizzard Gabriel, the next opponent. Whiscash, terrible lead. Let's see if we can come back from it. We switch into Vigoroth. They switch into a Tropius. Pretty bad for us. Razor Leaf Tropius is going to really chip away at Vigoroth, and we're dealing resisted damage with our counters. Plus Tropius is just so tanky in general. But he did allow us to get a nice little head start on energy, so we're going to try and throw off his counts by over farming here, because you can see we're already almost at 2 Body Slams. So I'm going to over farm quite a bit and make him think I'm not going to get to another Body Slam after this. So I throw this one. He shields, and I'm going to throw again. And I actually get both shields. And you could argue I could have aggressively swapped there to Qwilfish, but I decided I'd rather just kind of tank this energy on Qwilfish and save my shield for Galvantula, because I think Galv is going to kind of be my win con. And he makes what I think is a mistake. And he gives up Switch, which allows me to pair Galv against this Whiscash. And you notice I didn't shield the Mud Bomb, because I know you might be thinking you should shield the first one after the debuff, but if I do shield that first one, then he's just going to Blizzard me. And the Blizzard's going to one-shot anyway. Mud Bomb comes through, does quite a bit. He is going to get here first, which is unfortunate. And I have to make a decision here. I end up deciding that I'm not going to shield. I'm going to save it for my Qwilfish. I really need to over farm here as much as possible. He makes a beautiful catch on his Tropius. Wasn't expecting that at all. Sometimes I'm able to expect when a swap's going to happen, but I was not expecting him to catch there on the Tropius one bit. That was a really high level play. And it was also at a weird time. I had thrown 7 Poison Stings, which is 1 away from my second Aqua Tail. So a very weird time to catch, but a successful one nonetheless. And then unfortunately there's a Stunfisk back, and I would need 3 Aqua Tails to take this thing out. So I think the only way I could have won that was to avoid the catch on the Tropius. But at the same time, even if I don't allow the Tropius to catch, the Razor Leafs you would see, probably 3 Razor Leafs would take me out anyway. So a pretty tough lead with the Whiscash. Not sure we could have done much more that game. Qwilfish into Pidgeot. Everyone's been making videos on it with Feather Dance. It's pretty busted. I am going to farm up a bunch of energy. I'm going to call that this is a Feather Dance, which I don't need to shield because it doesn't do much. And then I'm going to aggressive switch into Vig. He switches into DD. And I'm just going to go straight Body Slam, obviously. I've seen a few people go for Bulldozes when running Vig. You never really want to go for Bulldoze unless it's super effective and Body Slam is resisted. You almost always want to just go straight Body Slam. I'm able to get the DD kind of low, What do I come in with? I would think Qwilfish since I have all this energy. I farm up to 99 energy. Go for an Aqua Tail. Take it out. I'm waiting to see what comes in. It's a Swampert. And I'm already at 2 more Aqua Tails, so I'm going to just try and get a shield here. I figure it's a Shadow Swampert, so he's going to be inclined to shield one of these. And then I can just put this all on Galv. Because Swampert is not going to want to eat a lunge. I have to shield this, obviously. Hydro Cannon would do like 80-something%. I'm just going to go straight lunge. I know there's a chance he's going to catch, but I don't really care because it'll still chip the Pidgeot if it lands. And it'll allow me to Volt Switch down pretty much. So I knew he was probably going to catch, and I didn't really mind it. Because now I'm actually, get this, I'm actually not going to shield this, even though it could be a Brave Bird, because the Swampert has a Hydro Cannon, so I really couldn't afford to shield that. And then I can lunge the Swampert, and he just decides to let it go. Oh, he was out of shields. He was out of shields. So yeah, I guess I could have, someone said in the chat, I could have just discharged at that point to make sure, even if he caught, which made sense, but I think it worked out either way. Also, I wouldn't CMP against Swampert, so I guess either way I would have been fine. I guess there was no reason to not shoot that Feather Dance looking back. I think that was kind of a lose con if he had gone for the Brave Bird, but it all worked out in the end. It all worked out in the end. In the end, it doesn't really matter. Excuse me. Qwilfish versus Nidoqueen. Solid matchup. He goes into Umbreon, and I go into Galv, and I'm not sure if this was the right play. The reason I went into Galv was because I wanted Galv to avoid the Nidoqueen. But because I was a little slow, I'm going to have to end up shielding here because Umbreon outpaces. Yeah, probably should have shielded the first one, considering that it did more damage before the debuff. So that's another mistake. In comes the Nidoqueen. I'm going to throw the lunge a little bit later just to give it a little bit less farm. But this is looking kind of sketch. He's got a shield advantage and an energy advantage. And he catches an Aqua Tail. And then check this out. So my plan here is to farm up 1,000,000 energy and then switch. But we encounter a little bit of lag, which kind of throws me off. I eat the Play Rough. I don't think I planned on throwing that Aqua Tail as a bait. I think I wanted to get out of there. But because of the clunky lag, it kind of threw off my whole game plan. And if I had 3 Aqua Tails, switch into Vig, potentially take out the Azu, and have all that energy against Nidoqueen, I might have still been able to pull this off. But at this point in the game, this is looking quite improbable. Azu's going to throw a move here. It's a Hydro Pump. That's really going to hurt. I also let a bubble through. So this game right here is an example of me just not playing very well. I let fast moves go through. I unsuccessfully baited. A lot went wrong in this game. And believe it or not, it's actually still quite close because we're 1 Poison Jab away from 3 Aqua Tails, and he's just getting to his Earth Power. So it really came down to like two fast moves there. But yeah, just a game I didn't play very well right there. So a loss for me that was easily winnable. The glitch again. Qwilfish into Bastiodon, not a very good lead, but also not terrible. Because we're going to just way outpace this thing. The Bastiodon did lag a little bit at the start, so unfortunate for him. It's not a great lead for Qwilfish because these Poison Stings do virtually nothing, but our opponent switches, which is kind of weird. I don't know why they switched. I'm going to switch into Galv because Galv is kind of dead weight against the Bast. I only counted like, what, 5 or 6 counters, so I didn't think that was a Rock Slide, but again, I don't know if I just didn't see it, visual, what happened, but this is going to put us in a kind of tricky spot. He shields the lunge. Fortunately, he throws, but I realize I'm going to be able to get to this lunge, so I shield. And I could potentially take switch here and put Vigoroth on the Bastiodon, which is going to happen. So now I've got Vigoroth on the Bastiodon. I feel like I'm switch locked and he's not, so I wait this timer out. Now I'm not switch locked, and then to my dismay, he's not switching. He's not switching out of the Bastiodon. I don't know what's going on. What on earth is going on? He's not switching. And he's going to give me a huge counter down here, where I'm at like 90, what would that be? I think I was at 91 energy by the time I countered down that Bastiodon. And I'm just going to get off all these body slams. I get the last shields, and at this point I can just switch into Qwilfish, and you know what's coming. You know what is coming. Take an ice beam. He beams me, and I sludge him in return. Qwilfish, look at its face. Sludge in the Azu. If you want to sludge Azus, try out Qwilfish. It's a fun pick. Extremely spammy, and has a lot of good matchups in the meta. The spamminess is unreal, to be honest. It's like legitimately good. It's not even like a super spice pick. So Diggersby, not a very good lead, but once again, it's a Pokemon we can't really switch out of because Galvantula would have an even worse matchup against this than Qwilfish. And I know he's got to go for a hard-hitting move to do any significant damage here, such as Earthquake or Hyper Beam, as some people run. I'm going to shield in case it's an Earthquake. It's just a Fire Punch, so unfortunately he baits us. But we are going to outpace this thing quite a bit. We get to Aqua Tails before he even gets to Fire Punches, since Aqua Tails 35 energy and Fire Punch is 40 energy. I do successfully shield an Earthquake, which is nice. He swaps in a Granbull, and I'm like, what the heck? So I farm up to Sludge Wave, and I'm going to go for double Aqua Tails here, because Aqua Tails are really going to chunk. He sneaks in a Charm, unfortunately, so you could argue I should have thrown one Poison Sting first. I go for a counter down, and look how much like 3 Charms did to Vigoroth. That is so insane. He comes in Ninetales, and I CMP on the Bulldoze. And this Bulldoze, fortunately, is enough to take out the Ninetales, and then the Diggersby surrenders. So no Galvantula necessary in that match. Isn't that kind of crazy? Like, we didn't even have a very good lead. Pretty neutral lead that could have gone south, and we still were able to win that without even revealing our third. Once again, a bad lead for Qwilfish, but I switch into Vig, and fortunately he doesn't have an obvious response, so we're gonna be able to either do some damage or get a shield. We get a shield. Very nice. In comes Skarmory. And yeah, this is kind of a tricky spot. It's like, do I shield to preserve Vig? Do I not? Looks like I'm just going to decide to let it go. I'm going to try and do some chip damage here with body slams. Vigoroth can put up quite a fight against Skarm. And then check this out. This is actually an insane game, by the way. I just remembered it. I aggressively swap into Galv. I'm going to have to shield here, but I know this is going to be a tight game, and I'm keeping that Vigoroth alive for a potential sack swap in the back. And I know I wasn't going to keep Switch anyway, so I figure if I'm going to lose Switch, I might as well just aggressively swap and keep the Vigoroth alive for a sack swap. I'm deciding to let this one go because I know he's going to get to 2 Hydros here before I get to my second move. I sneak in a Volt Switch, which is huge, and I'm definitely going to shield this. I get off the lunge. This is going to do quite a bit of damage. Doesn't quite KO, but that's all right. I'm going to stay in, force the Swampert to expend its Hydro here. And then it's really just going to come down to Qwilfish versus whatever's in the back. So, I'm eventually going to come in here with Qwilfish. He immediately swaps into Electrode. And I'm like, oh no, this is bad. But I can count to 3. So I count to 3 Volt Switches. And I absorb the discharge. And now I'm just going as much energy as possible before he gets to his next one. I go for a Sludge, so I did as much Poison Sting damage as I could. And luckily, Sludge KOs. And then I'm 1 Poison Sting away from the Aqua Tail. So a really nice finish to that game, as I was able to catch the first move from Electrode onto the low health Vig. Pretty simple stuff, just counting to 3. And luckily, he didn't see it coming, so he threw right away. And we take a very quality win there. Able to flip a game. An example of a game we were able to flip with some aggressive plays, some energy management, and catching. Probably a game that we shouldn't really have won. So a terrible lead for Qwilfish. But fortunately for us, our opponent misplays a bit. They let us farm up a lot of energy before swapping into Granbull. And we're going to likely get off 3 Body Slams here if the opponent decides to shield. So I get off a second Body Slam here. And then to my surprise, the opponent just gives up Switch, which is pretty huge for us. I recognize I'm not going to get to a Bulldoze, so I'm just going to get off this Body Slam. Do some nice chip damage. And this is great. Now Qwilfish is avoiding the Bronzong. I'm going to come in here with Galv. I sneak in a Volt Switch. This is going very well. I have to respect whatever this is. Just a Side Shock, that's fine. I Blind Lunge, which he's going to catch on my low tick, but like this is still going to hurt. And it's going to debuff. And I'm just going to Volt Switch down at this point. And I Volt Switch down before he even gets to a move. And then I can just straight lunge the Bronzong. And we're in a pretty commanding position. After this debuff, our Volt Switches will do probably more than the Confusions. We get fortunate with Fast Move Denial. Get the last shield. And then I swap in Qwilfish, because why not? Poison Sting down the Steel type for the win. Let's go, Qwilfish. Qwilfish hype. And we get a win there. A 4-1 for that set. And I think I have one more bonus battle, if I'm not mistaken. You see me putting on that star piece. Collecting the dust. Yeah. And there we go. There's the bonus battle. Going against Daniel. This was a pretty good one. Qwilfish versus Sableye. So I'm going to outpace Sableye in this matchup. But as you see, my Poison Stings don't do very much. And the foul play from Sableye is going to do way more than these Aqua Tails coming in. So kind of an awkward matchup. I have to shield. And you saw I did sneak in a Poison Sting, which actually allows me to get to 3 before he gets to 1. He does make a nice catch here on his Skarmory. So Skarmory can absorb that no problem. I swap into Galv, and I'm actually going to throw my Discharge right away to force him to make a decision. Does he want to shield, or does he want to let his Skarmory go? He elects to let his Skarmory go. He comes back in with Sableye. I'm going to let my Galv go. I want to save a shield for whatever's in back. And I'm going to come in here with Vigoroth. I was really hoping that he didn't quite get to return. I kind of lost track of energy at this point. And unfortunately, it is a return, so that does a ton of damage. In comes a Pure Fighter. I didn't quite see what it was. But I just blind throw a Body Slam. I get a shield. I aggressive swap into Qwilfish. And because I have this residual energy, this is huge. I have no choice but to shield this. Leaf Blade or Night Slash would probably take me out from here. I'm going to go for an Aqua Tail. I'm really hoping to get this shield, because if I do, I should be able to get to a Sludge Wave first. Poison Sting, just so spammy with the energy. I get to a Sludge Wave. This is definitely going to KO. Unfortunately, Poison Stings aren't doing anything to Sableye, so I just need one counter. And fortunately, I said fortunately so many times there, but luckily for us, his Sableye did not have a foul play quite yet, and we're able to take the win. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Qwilfish, a legitimately good pick in the current meta. It's got an amazing matchup against Azu. It resists everything. Poison Stings will chip away. Sludge Wave, it's going to get to Sludge Waves about the same time Azu's getting to Ice Beam. So a pretty dominant matchup there. And then its spamminess gives it play against things like that you've seen, like Sableye, because it's so spammy, against things like Stunfisk, Bastiodon. It's not going to appreciate the Mud Shot damage over time. The Poison Stings don't really do anything to Steel types, so that's not great. It's going to struggle against Confusion users, of course. But overall, I thought Qwilfish was a really solid pick, and I encourage you to try it out in the current meta. All right, thank you all for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one. Peace.